Okay, so where did she conclude with all this? Well, as far as I'm concerned, she was a free willie. She spoke a lot about free will. A lot of people today speak about free will. And among those, you find the anarcho-capitalists, which I like to call narco-caps. Okay? So the narco-caps, these anarcho-capitalists, they want government off their back. They don't want government at all. In fact, in that sense, whether they know it or not, they follow the Marxist tradition. Karl Marx, he said, yeah, first you have this dictatorship of the proletariat, but eventually, this was the notion, where does this lead to? Well, first you need to impose the dictatorship of the proletariat. What, to get rid of the privileges? You know, you got to get rid of Bill Gates and all these guys who have billions of dollars and just sitting on their butts doing nothing. It's the worker who produces the goods, right, and services. So, you know, the workers can do without these guys because these guys really are just parasites. They're the parasites. And the rich people say, no, no, you're the parasite because, see, I made my money, using my head or whatever, and I got ahead in life and made all this money because I worked hard, and you just want to take it away from me? So we get into all these debates. Who's the parasite? Is the parasite the bum who lives under the bridge and collects welfare, or is the parasite the rich guy who doesn't do anything, has all these billions and has yachts and just has a lot of fun in life, at the expense of those poor workers who have to suffer every day? Well, Marx said, get rid of the rich people, but then where does it lead to? Well, he says it leads eventually to a world where we don't need government. And in that sense, the narco-caps came back to Marx, interestingly enough. But I accuse Ayn Rand of being a narco-cap. But see, Ayn Rand was a little different, only in the sense that she said, I'm in favor of limited government. Government does have a purpose, and the purpose is to police, to impose justice, right? On the other hand, the narco-caps say, we don't even need that. We don't need that at all. We can do all this legal stuff, and we can do all this punishment and policing. We can do it in private hands. We can leave that in private hands. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. You can look that up. But they have all these mechanisms on how that would work in society, okay? So what's my argument against all these narco-caps, against Ayn Rand included, Is it to do with something totally different? It's got to do with the fact that Ayn Rand had hope. She had hope for the future, okay? And here's one statement that she made, a couple statements, okay? And this puts it in the right context. So, are you seeking to know what is she? This is from John Galt's speech in Atlas Shrugged, which is her #1 novel. It says, are you seeking to know what is wrong with the world? The disasters that have wrecked your world came from your leaders' attempt to evade the fact that A is A. And she says, man cannot survive except blah, 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 blah. And the world you desire can be won. She had hope. She says, if only you would follow my advice, then we could make this a good world, and we would solve all the problems out there. So she had hope for the world. She said, if we continue on this path of welfare and Medicare and so on, that's going to take us to who knows to what, to some kind of disaster. She had no idea where it would take us. But if you follow my advice and get rid of all this socialism and just do pure capitalism, free will, take government off our backs, just limit it to policing, then this is a great world, and it's going to continue. And that's where we disagree. I'm saying none of this has anything to do with what's coming up. What's coming up is extinction. Every species becomes extinct. And extinction, Mother Nature, right? She plants the seed of extinction whenever she spawns a species for the first time. Okay? So that's my argument. So if you came here for hope, you came to the wrong place. I don't give hope. I tell you we're going to become extinct, and very soon. Very soon. And people always ask, well, how soon, Bill? Is it going to be the 1st of May of the year 2030? I'm not an astrologer. I'm a lousy astrologer. All I can tell you is the mechanism. That's what science concerns itself with. Not with when, but how it's going to come about. Okay? And one of the issues that comes up is whether that's part of science. Is astrology this so-called telling the future, foretelling the future, like knowing that humans are going to become extinct? Is that part of science? How does it fit into science? You're not explaining anything, because you can only explain a consummated event. And here, humans, as far as I'm concerned, are still alive on planet Earth. So there's nothing to explain. Well, it comes, so that's the first thing. You got to put that in the proper context. And the way it comes into science is through the extinction of past species. You have to explain how past species became extinct. Okay, you got to explain how the dinosaurs became extinct, how the Permian synapsids became extinct, how the Triassic archosaurs became extinct. That's what you have to explain. How did they become extinct? Okay? And one of the issues is that, I'll give you an example, a little for instance here. Imagine there's the last 5 Neanderthals, okay? Last 5 Neanderthals on Earth. And they're all in a cave, okay? And they're around the campfire, right? They've got a little fire there. They're cooking whatever they're cooking. They're talking. And a boulder falls on all 5 of them and kills them. And let's say we discover that. We figure out that those were the last 5 Neanderthals. Let's say we even filmed it. Can we say that the reason the Neanderthals became extinct is because of a rock? That a rock caused the extinction of the Neanderthals? No, the issue is you have to explain why did we end up with 5 Neanderthals. That's the mechanism of extinction that we have to explain, not the last, the straw that broke the camel's back. And right now we have problems with that. We have problems today because none of the theories that you find in paleontology for the Neanderthals, for the dinosaurs, for any species is rational. Why isn't it rational? Because the only thing that an extinction theory has to explain is selectivity. You have to explain how Mother Nature selects one species in a background extinction, and why it selects a family or an order of species in the case of a mass extinction. How does she do this? This is what you got to explain. And he who has not explained selectivity has not explained extinction. It's just that simple. Okay? So how do they explain, for example, the most famous extinction, the dinosaur extinction? They explain it this way. Here's a little video, a little GIF on this, okay? And let me get this out of here. Get this in there, right? Okay, here's the most famous extinction theory. It says that an asteroid, okay, hit the Earth. You'll see it here in a second. An asteroid comes and hits the Earth, okay, and creates this big boom, okay, and the whole planet goes on fire. Spreads throughout the whole surface of the planet, killing everything in sight. All plants, all animals, and essentially the Earth becomes a cinder. Nothing is left alive. That's the notion that paleontology tries to, convey to you. Okay, and this is what happened to the animals on surface, here, and the plants also, by the way, and all the dinosaurs are burned to death, wherever they were found, all around the Earth. You have fire and brimstone falling on the poor animals and killing all of them. Essentially, this is the notion that people have of, how the dinosaurs became extinct 65 million years ago. Okay? And somehow that contrasts with another notion that they have, which is this one, which is the tsunami version. It says what the asteroid did was cause tsunamis, and they drowned everything on land. So we have the fire and we have the water version of extinction, all from the same mechanism. And if that weren't enough, we have still another one, which is the fact that you say, well, how did the fish die? How did, not the fish really, it's the reptiles, the mosasaurs that were, in the waters. How did they die? How did and there were other fish, especially the plankton, how did they die? Well, for this they had to invent another mechanism. They said, well, it turns out that and that's when you'll find, and I'm not putting words in their mouth, the asteroid fell on a pile of sulfur. And so it acidified the waters, and apparently some animals couldn't take it down there. Some survived, some did, because some could take the acidity and some could not. And how about the mammals on land? Were they wiped out as well? And the plants? What did they eat? I mean, if this either the water or the fire burned everything, what did the mammals eat? And they tell you that they ate detritus, which is like rotten meat for dead animals or whatever was left over for 3-4 years until God made plants again, I guess. So no, these are all irrational theories. That's all we have out there. There's no rational theory in all of paleontology regarding extinction, and that's what paleontology is supposed to do. Paleontology is the study of death. That's what paleontologists do. Paleontology is not assembling bones that some guy collected in the field and assembled in a museum. That's stamp collecting. In science, we have to explain. And a paleontology has to explain death. That's it. He's a necrologist, if you want to look at it that way. He's supposed to tell us how species became extinct, and not one has been able to do so since George Cuvier, the first father of paleontology, came up with all this stuff at the end of the 18th century. So we don't have a rational theory of extinction, and that's where I come in. I come in with a rational explanation of extinction, okay? And you say, well, that's your opinion, Bill. Yeah, and all I can do is tell you my theory, and I'm not here to shove it down your throat. You believe in whatever you want. I'm just telling you what the theory is, because you won't find it anywhere. You're not allowed to publish it. Obviously, you can't put it under Wikipedia, which is supposedly a non-peer-reviewed source, and you can't put it in there. Like I can't put the rope hypothesis in there either. None of those things you can put in there, because immediately they'll say, well, what's your source? Well, the source is here. Well, you need at least 2 independent sources, and they go through all this rigmarole, okay? So they don't want you publishing stuff that reaches the public through the Wikipedia. And so you won't find this theory in there either, okay? This is the only place you're going to find it. So if you're lucky enough to come across this area, at least you'll be subjected, you'll be exposed to a new theory, which is different from all the rest. And I'm just going to go through it real quick, okay, today. If people are interested, if at least 3 people put comments saying that they would like to hear more about the theory, I'll talk about it on Sunday. Otherwise, I'll just continue with Ayn Rand, okay? So I'll say that again. If at least 3 people put comments saying, look, Bill, I'd like to listen to your theory in more detail, okay, then I'll talk about it a little more on Sunday, okay? I'll handle it that way. Anyways, how does Mother Nature do extinction, mass extinction? Okay, we're not talking about background extinction, one species. We're talking about many species here, an order or a family or whatever of species. Okay, and I'm saying that the animals already were dying before we reached the end of the Cretaceous, 65 or so million years ago. They had already begun to disappear. And the reason they began to disappear, not only in variety, in the number of species, but also in the quantity of animals per species, is because the plants that they were eating were disappearing. The way Mother Nature does extinction is through food. Okay, she does it through starvation. That's my argument. Okay, and here you can see a graph that was collected after 4 years by groups, and it's known as the Cretaceous Terrestrial Revolution. And what you can see there is that angiosperms, at least since the middle of the Cretaceous, even before then, began to take over the land. They were displacing what the dinosaurs were eating, which were the conifers, which included the cycads, the ginkgos, and other gymnosperms. Okay, so the issue here is that we can see in this graph what happened. And what happened was that the source of food of the dinosaurs was dying, the varieties were dying, and so the dinosaurs were losing variety themselves, and they were becoming fewer and fewer until they finally became extinct. Okay, and again, you know, I don't think an asteroid had anything to do with it, but assuming, let's concede that an asteroid gave it the final blow, that's like the boulder that fell on the 5 Neanderthals. Is that what caused the extinction of the Neanderthals? No, the theory is, how did they become 5? And the question with the dinosaurs is, how did they dwindle to so few in the end? That's what you got to explain. And this is what none of these people are answering. Here's a little picture that a lot of people are not aware of, what happened to the source of food of the, for example, the T-Rexes, okay? This gives you a little vision, a microcosm again, right, of what was happening with food, okay? And here you have the Jurassic to the Cretaceous, and you see all these species, they becoming fewer and fewer towards the end. And what you see is that, like in the Campanian, there were several types of Triceratops and several types of hadrosaurs. And by the Maastrichtian, which was towards the end of the Cretaceous, you had fewer species of both, which is essentially what the T-Rexes ate. You know, they ate these animals. This was their source of food. So if they started out with something like this, like here, I'll show you. If they started out with, you know, this volume, maybe at the middle Cretaceous or towards the end of the Cretaceous, by the time they reached the very end of the Cretaceous, it looked more like this. Okay, the hadrosaurs had essentially disappeared, and you had other animals like the ankylosaurs, and they weren't around anymore. And so the question is, what killed them? I mean, you can't blame that on an asteroid. You know, an asteroid can do the final hit, but it cannot give you this trend where more and more dinosaur species are disappearing. Okay, and also the plants that they ate, by the way. So what is the mechanism? The mechanism I propose is this one. It's known as the overturning of the ecological pyramid. Okay, what happens is, what you have is the population pyramid of the plants overturns. Because it overturns throughout the years, hundreds and thousands of years, the herbivores find towards the end very few species of plants to eat, so they cannot diversify. They also become fewer. And at the very end, you have more predators, or the ratio of predator to prey changes, and so does the ratio of herbivores to primary production. That's essentially the theory. And what does this have to do with the extinction of man? Well, I'm saying we're going to die no differently than the dinosaurs. We're going to die because our source of food disappears. And people say, Bill, you're crazy. Okay, I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm saying the source of food disappears. And right now, you know, we plant food only because of money. We have an abstraction that humans have created in their economy. And by the way, all animals are economists. All animals manage their economy, manage their sources. And what all animals manage, the primary good that all animals manage is food. So Mother Nature uses that to kill species. That's her weapon. That's her secret weapon. It's the third horseman, the black horseman, you know, the starvation. That's how Mother Nature does her tricks. And she's going to apply that one on us. And it turns out that we have no way of avoiding it. And a lot of people ask me, and I have to repeat this like 10 times, I'm sorry, but a lot of people never pick up on this. I tell them there's nothing we can do about it. And they say, well, Bill, what do you propose? How can we solve this problem? And I keep telling them there's nothing we can do about it. And people can't understand it because they say, well, hold it, we have intelligence, we have technology, we have foresight. And you're saying we can't do anything about it? Exactly. We can't do anything about extinction. Intelligence is not an antidote to extinction. Technology is not an antidote to extinction. Any more than there are things that humans can't do anything about. We can't do anything, absolutely anything about having fewer and fewer babies from now on. Okay? And we can't do anything, absolutely anything, with our genetic diversity. The fact that our genetic diversity is disappearing. We can't do anything about that. There are things intelligence can't do anything about. And people do not comprehend that because they think that because we have intelligence and foresight, we're so smart and we have technology that we can do anything. And yet we can't go to the nearest star system. And probably never, for sure, we'll never will. That's surrealistic. We'll never get to Mars. I doubt it very much. But so what's the issue? The issue is we can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about the overturning of the population pyramid of humans, first of all, and we can't do anything about the overturning of the ecological pyramid. Why? Because we have all these corporations who produce food and distribute it to the cities, where everybody is stuck depending on these corporations. And when, not if, but when the global economy, the human artificial economy completely collapses, money is no more. Money is no more. Money has no value at some point. And that's where people have a lot of problem with that. I got to go through this long explanation of why money is no more. You will not accept money anymore. And if you don't accept money, well, the corporation that produces food and distributes food has no incentive to produce food and distribute food. And now millions, billions, 8 billion people die in a matter of weeks. Okay, that's the theory in a nutshell. If you want more, at least I'll need 3 people to put in there saying, look, I'm interested in you on Sunday. Okay, bye-bye.